We are recording now.
Oodalali. Here we are in the backyard, drinking limoncellos. This is just...
Yeah, first time outside cast. Solutions from the multiverse from the outside.
That's right. Usually it's inside.
That's true.
Yeah. We get to enjoy the fresh air. The huge walls. My back sort of paved area has a lot of wall real estate.
Yeah, but let's not overlook that it's a perfect day and there are zero clouds in the sky. It is a gorgeous day out here.
It really is.
Temperature-wise, weather-wise, we're batting 1,000 here. I'm fine with this.
It's excellent. Welcome, everybody, to Solutions from the Multiverse. My name's Adam Braus.
I'm Scott Moppin. Thanks for joining us again.
We released our first episode yesterday.
Yeah, in the real-world scenario, we are currently at the point where episode 1 just dropped, but we're recording this one now.
Right. It creates some kind of weird time dilation, doesn't it?
Yep.
We're going through time and space when
we
travel through the multiverse.
And finding solutions along the way and throwing them back out to the world. It's great.
It's really fun. Keep the if you
are we the real heroes in this universe? Some might say yes, others might say definitely, but I don't want to comment on it. I feel that's rude.
That's the humble thing to do. Yeah.
Totally.
Just leave it to others to throw, flowers.
Some might say a heroically humble thing to do.
That's how I thought was your strongest
and that wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be that person.
Right.
I would not say that.
Right.
But
I was going to say we should keep the conversation going on Twitter if you like, at AJ Braus and at Scott Maupin. 1T.
1T. SCOTMAUPIN.
That's right.
Not intuitive to spell.
Yeah, it's on the episode.
They're on the episode notes.
Episode notes. You can find it. That's where we want to have the conversation. So if you don't like what we say, which today's going to be we're going to really bite down on the buzzsaw a little bit. We're going to have some controversy. This is going to be fun.
I'm excited.
I've talked to just a few people about this idea, this solution, and they all, it's always like an immediate like, whoa, but then people, they go like, oh shit. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Should I start? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Here it is.
Lay it on me.
We should lower the voting age to 14.
Lower the voting age to 14.
Yes.
Across the board. Okay.
Across the board.
You're American citizen, you're 14, boom, you can now register to vote.
Happy birthday. Yep.
All right. 14, that's, what is that, like 9th grade? 8th grade?
Yeah, 8th, I think juniors are 16, so freshman year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
9th grade.
High school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you attend high school, you can vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, devil's advocate, why do this? Where's this come from?
I mean, I think, there's one of the big problems we have, right, is American democracy is kind of on the ropes, right? And when you say democracy, what are you really talking about? You're talking about voting, right?
Yeah.
And there's a big push, from those who shall not be named, one party a little more than the other, although they're both kind of guilty of doing undemocratic things. but really across the board, actually, we don't really need to point fingers because it really happens. Both Democrats and Republicans do these things that are not really supporting the vote. And so, yeah, we have gerrymandering. We have felons can't vote in a lot of
different methods
states.
of voter suppression.
Yeah,
trying to shrink the voter pool instead of maximize it.
Right. And then kind of the people who do, there are leaders, mainly Democrats, who support, fight for the vote. I guess to some extent, if you believe the propaganda, there's people on the right who are like supporting the vote by like fighting voter fraud that doesn't exist. Like all research says that there really isn't almost any voter fraud, but they're supporting the vote. It
seems to be as valid as the people who are also hunting for Bigfoot and searching for ghost, like ghost documentation.
Yeah. Next on Poltergeist.
There are definitely people who believe it or are really looking, but
they don't come up with much.
They seem like they're on the same level there.
Yeah, exactly. But on the right, there's like Stacey Abrams and there's people who are like, oh, the vote really matters. And, there's at least, there's the Voting Rights Act that hasn't been passed, but there's a lot of people who stand up and say this really should be passed, but gosh darn it, we just can't get the votes and we can't override the Senate parliamentarian and we can't, we can't change the filibuster for voting rights. Like they even though they quote unquote want it, they don't really, it doesn't seem like they really actually do want it, or they would do any of number of these things that they could do.
Sure.
But at least they say they want it. Okay, let's take them at face value. Okay, so there are these sort of people who do want voting. But all they want...
It is easier to be the person who would be like, oh man, you don't know, if I was that person, I would work so hard, I would do so much good stuff. And then when you are the person, you're like, oh, I don't, what? I said what now?
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold up. Oh, that sounds real hard though.
That sounds really hard. Oh no, sorry, we can't get it over the fence right now.
But as soon as you can't do it, it's like, oh, you have no idea. You wouldn't believe believe how awesome I would be there.
Right. I would be just dunking every day.
Well, here's basketball. I can't, my ankle really, my ankle kind of, you caught me on a bad day. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So but they basically are asking largely for voting to kind of stay the same. Sure, they want a national holiday. They want voting. Okay, great. Although the research around that shows that actually won't do very much.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some research around. Like I think Australia has. It's illegal to not vote in Australia. You have to vote. And other countries have voting days that are election days that you get days off, and it doesn't actually move the needle that much. I still think it's worth doing symbolically. Like we should celebrate democracy and like tell people like it's great democracy, go vote, but it actually doesn't do that much.
I mean, purely from a standpoint of seeing the long lines of people at night at the voting place and be like, oh, if we could figure this out earlier or have an all day thing,
that'd be better. Yeah.
It doesn't directly affect me because I'm a vote by mail person.
Me too. Yeah.
I fill my stuff out and send it in.
Or why not have like 5 days of voting? Like who cares? Just vote for 5 days. Why
just know as the sun rises and the sun doth set, it is upon only that one day, that one diurnal pass of the sun that we can pass the vote.
Well, it's like what? Just vote the whole freaking month of February. Who cares?
So I'm actually not. I would be on board for this idea, but this leads us directly into what your critics would say, which is letting a bunch of 14-year-olds vote now would be like, you would get crazy. You'd be like, all right, well, the national anthem is TikTok, and everyone's going to have a 17-day weekend. That's how it's going to work now. Why? Because they figured out a meme way to vote, and 89,000 billion people voted all at once, and no one else could counter.
So here we go. This is the powers of anti-democracy, and they're very nefarious, right? Because they always start to make it sound like some dangerous thing that like the will of the people would actually be lived out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think this goes. Do you remember Bodie McBoatface?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yes.
The story of Bodie McBoatface. Do you?
Please, though, for other people. I know.
Okay. So the British government had some new giant like destroyer or something that they had built, and they thought, in the spirit of democracy, we'll put it up for a vote on the internet. That was their mistake. They should have had to be like a mail-in. Then they would have gotten really legit answers. They put it on the internet, and anyone could vote to name it whatever they wanted. So people could post whatever name and you could vote it up. Well, the winner was Bodie McBoatface.
Yes.
Which then they refused to do, and they named it some, stupid thing. King
way less
Arthur or something. Yeah. But then Sweden said, no, we believe in democracy. They took one of their boats and named it Bodie McBoatface because they wanted to say, no, whatever the will of the people is what it should be. That's what it should be.
Sweden was like, we recognize a terrific boat name when we hear it. Grab that thing. Let's go. It is not surprising to me that the staunch British military boat naming officials didn't see the troll LOL meme of the internet coming when they were like, everyone will take this very seriously. And then they were just like, yeah, Bodie McBoatface. That's your name.
Out of left field.
And they're like, what?
Hooliganism.
How did we?
Hooliganism. They
welcome
said.
To the internet, guys.
Exactly. Where have you been for 30 years or whatever? So, I mean, but the point is, whenever you suggest that we should actually have democracy where there actually is access to the vote, actually people get to vote, people can, then people say, oh, well, then it's just going to be crazy because it'll be the mob and they're uneducated and they're bad and they're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So the provocative thing is to say, if one side of the debate is pushing the number of voters down, then the other side really there might be a real argument to say the other side should really push to have the total number of voters increase. And the only way you could do that right now is by lowering the age.
Yeah.
Right? If the Democrats were really going to say, actually, we support democracy, well, let's lower it. And I talked to a young guy, like a 20-something-year-old guy the other day, and he looked at me like I was crazy when I said this idea. He was just like, you are irresponsible.
A 20-year-old guy?
He was only 22 years old. He's like, he was in college. He's 20, 22. He just said,
Maybe he remembers what it's like being 14.
Yeah, right.
Better than we do.
No, because that's how he changed. So then he said, but then he went through this whole process right in front of me. It was really interesting to watch him. He went from like, dude, that is irresponsible. Like, you need to shut up. Like, the thought police are coming down on you, dude. And then he was like, actually, he said something so smart. He's a really smart guy, but he said, actually, doesn't it not make any sense that decisions about the future, which are going to affect young people the most, young people don't get to decide them?
Yeah.
And I was like, coin is dropping. If you talk to a 16-year-old today, they will have surprisingly good opinions. I don't know how many 16-year-olds you know, but if you talk to 16-year-olds, they will be like, climate change is an existential risk. They will say amazing stuff about gender and stuff. They understand all that way better than any of us learned at that age knew about. You know, they're amazing.
Kids today are super informed, super up on the, I mean, especially compared to 200 years ago where the kid is like, Daddy, may I hit the hoop down the path with my stick? And like, ooh, what fun we are having. And now kids are like, okay, I'm checking out the global famine situation right now. Settle down.
Because they're just, think if you were in school, so all you have is just time, and someone's giving you a phone with free internet access, and probably a laptop too. And all you do all day long is like Google stuff that you're like curious about. And sure, you might be Googling like the recent stats on your favorite esports game, but you are also Googling with some of your time like questions you have about the world, like, because you're a young person, you're trying to understand the world.
I was going to say I've high school substitute taught before, and I don't know that the things that everyone's Googling is going to be your strongest.
No, it's not.
Evidence,
well,
but
they're Googling dumb stuff. Don't get me wrong, but they're
for sure.
But they're Googling so many things that some small fraction is
smart
really
stuff gets in
interesting
there.
stuff, and I mean, even just the presence of Wikipedia is amazing. Amazing. And YouTube, oh my God, you can learn even if you're not trying to learn from YouTube.
The rabbit holes,
learn an enormous
you go
amount
down,
of stuff.
where you're just like, huh, and then you go, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
And you chase curiosity.
Right.
It's so much easier now, with the internet than it was even like when I was growing up pre-internet, whereas like at the library, that was still pretty easy to chase around a curiosity and go down rabbit holes in the library, but nothing compared to what it is now.
No, and the independence, the independence that you have. Like in the library, you had to be like, what Dewey Decimal number is? You had to like know something like the Dewey Decimal System to find what you wanted.
Yeah.
The internet is so intuitive. It's so just like you reach out like Minority Report and just like fly around it. Especially for these, digital native, 15-year-olds or whatever, 12-year-olds. And then also, I think young people are included more in the historical events than before. So I know that when I was 16 years old, it was 1998 or something, like the Bill Clinton scandal, whatever, impeachment was happening. Like, I didn't have a clue. That didn't have anything to do with me.
Right.
But today I hear young people say things like, because I'm a college professor, just so people on the pod might not know that. I'm a college professor. I work with 20-year-olds all day long, 18 to 26-year-olds, 30-year-olds all day long. And so I get to, I hear what they talk about, and what to some extent, right? They don't overshare, but, I hear about things from them. And they say things like, when I was in high school, we cared about like the 2008 financial crisis. Like we knew about that and like we thought about it and we were like really worried about our futures. I was like, worried about your future? Like you were worried about your future in high school? In high school, I was just like, I don't know, tooling around, like, because there was basically no internet. I mean, there was, the internet was just starting. Like Alta Vista was how we searched, Well,
and if I'm 16 right now, I'm going to be hyper interested in the whole student debt situation and what's going on.
Because that affects you.
Because people seem like they are not happy right now. And how do I avoid that?
Yep.
If I'm 16 about to enter the gauntlet of college and university.
Right. And we're seeing that college rates of admission, or not admission, but enrollment are going down precipitously. And people are blaming that to some degree on a demographic shift. But that demographic shift shouldn't hit for another 5 or 6 years, which means that it's actually this exact thing. It's cogent, informed 17-year-olds deciding that it's actually better for them to do something else. Now, I mean, I think it's important to go to college, although I have major criticisms of college systems. I wish these students would just go to community college for 2 years and then transfer to a 4-year school. That's a way to avoid most of the lion's share of the cost of education and still get a great education and get all the benefits of higher education. For anybody listening, maybe that should have been a solution for another day, but that's the best way to get an affordable and good education, because community colleges are almost free everywhere in the country now because of Obama and to some extent Biden too. But yeah, so anyways, voting. What if we had them vote? What is that crazy? I mean,
can I throw some more legs on your table here?
Is that bad or good?
It's an analogy.
Let
I
me
just
get
made
these
up.
coconuts
You don't
into that
instantly
barrel.
understand.
Yeah,
no, I'm giving
you
you
did make that up. You're gaslighting me here.
I did. I made it up. But I'm thinking of it. A table with more legs is sturdier and
okay. I'm going to be honest. I had like a horrific abattoir vision of what you were doing.
A Dexter situation.
Yes, I was like, oh my God, is this good or bad?
No. I meant
these pork legs, like delicious Spanish
always
legs
think carpentry first when I'm making analogies. Always. You don't know that about me?
Okay, I'm recovering.
Mr. Carpentry over here. Okay. No, but let me add some support to your argument, if I may.
Okay, we're staying literal now. Good.
But I mean, the history of voting is going from fewer people voting to more and more. Right. Like it starts out, it's wealthy land-owning white males only, and then it's like non-property owners, and then it's like now we extend it to
people of color,
people of color, and now women.
1870,
but at each stage,
but then they also had poll
moved from concentrated in fewer votes to more and more voices to participate. And at each stage, the opposition has been like, you can't do this. We're at the peak. Exactly. If you let those people vote, it'll be irrational. They're crazy. They couldn't handle the power.
Their brains are not as developed.
They'll ruin everything.
These are the arguments that people say for young people. If I've talked to about 5 people with this. They say, oh, their brains aren't fully developed. I'm just going to let everybody know who's listening. Your brain is never fully developed. Your brain continues to develop your whole life, and then you die. I know that there's phases.
I'm on board. So we let only dead people vote. Right. This is fantastic.
Right. I mean, I shouldn't be totally flippant. Of course, your brain has sort of phases of development. You know, a 2-year-old's brain is different than a 50-year-old's. But to say this like brain develop, this like very hand wavy, like pseudoscientific, like 14-year-olds' brains aren't developed. That's exactly the kind of BS, racist, sexist sort of hand wavy arguments that were made 100 years ago to say, oh no, like, you know, people of color's brains aren't developed the same because look at their phrenology, look at their shape of their skull. It's all fake. That's fake science. The question is really about political enfranchisement. Should we enfranchise a section of the population or should we not? If you believe in democracy, and if in my opinion, if you know any 14 to 18-year-olds, you would agree they're a worthwhile group to enfranchise. They're a good group to enfranchise.
And where I grew up in Kansas, at age 14, you could get a learner's permit to drive. And if you have me at 14 behind the wheel of a car, and you trust my judgment on the road, driving a car, you might as well trust my judgment choosing between
and in a lot of
two
states,
candidates on
in
the
a
ballot.
lot of states, your age of consent is 16. And in some states, it's 14, like Florida and weirdo states. No offense to Floridians listening, but your state's weird.
I don't think this is the first time they're hearing that.
I love Florida. I go there occasionally. It's lovely. But yeah, maybe get that age of consent a little higher. But well, this is a bigger question, right? How do we want to enfranchise young people into society? You know, in the past, so I had a busser when I was a waiter, and this great guy. I always had because I speak Spanish, and I had this great relationship always with all the staff. I was in New Mexico, so there was a lot of people who spoke Spanish, and it was great. And I had this great busser, and we were always sitting around shooting the breeze and talking and stuff. And he was a really interesting guy. He was real short. He's like under 5 foot. And he had this kind of pigmentation, just to give you an image of kind of how this guy was an interesting guy. Yeah. He had this like pigmentation thing with his skin on both hands. So he kind of looked like a superhero. He had like this like white hands, and then it like slowly became like
Vitiligo.
Dark. Yeah, something like that. But on both hands equally, he looked like he was like a Jedi, and he had like somehow like dipped his hands in the Force or something. Anyways, he was an interesting guy. But he was funny. He's a super, uneducated Ecuadorian guy, and he was like, oh, here's my son. He's 14. There's his first child. And he was so proud. And I was like, whoa.
Sure.
Because for me, that was like vertiginous. Like, what? That you're proud of this, But for him, it was like, no, he came of age when he was 13. And then now he's 14, whatever. He came of age, so he can do whatever. He's a grown up.
Right.
And I think about it as like, okay, well, the same thing with, Jewish people. They do the bar mitzvah, the bat mitzvah, 13. You're a man. You're in the eyes of the church, right? And, there's all these different ways where we have ways of thinking of people as like adults or going, getting your learner's permit, being able to drive, 14, 15 years old. But we want to keep people out of the voting. And I think if we were really in support of democracy and we really care about the vote, if we're like Stacey Abrams stands, like I am, we should add to like making the election day of a day off. And we should add to, getting rid of gerrymandering. So all districts are set by like retired judges or whatever. Like we should add to all of that, which is all great. We should add to that. Oh yeah. And down to 14, the age of voting.
Yeah.
Think about your civics classes. Everyone in the room could vote, and high school civics teachers could sit there and teach them civics, and then they could all go on a field trip to go vote. It'd be amazing.
I mean, I'm totally on board for this. I think this would be a fantastic idea. Also, the kids, I don't think of it as like lowering the age of man or woman. I think of it as like we're including kids or upper level kids in the process.
Right.
But
they don't like to be called kids, by the way. Just as an educator, when you call a 14-year-old a kid, they get kind of mad.
What are we? The teens? The
youth?
That's not the youth.
The youths.
oh, that's way better. All right, so these youths. No,
they don't mind youth. They don't like youths. The youths of today. The youths.
But so the 14 to 18-year-olds who, now I've lost my point.
Wait, I have a point. So, okay, here's the other criticism, which is laid at its feet. Obviously, people can tell I'm going to demolish it. You can already tell. But anyways, I think it's an interesting point. So people say, well, people that age, they have bad opinions because, they're inexperienced or because whatever. They're just, we'll leave the brain not developed to the side because I think I've already kind of tried to demolish that. But they have bad opinions. To that, I say bad opinions have not prevented anyone from voting in the past.
Nope. That's not been a requirement. No.
That's not a requirement. Having good opinions is not a requirement. I mean, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. You think half the country has bad opinions, right? So I mean, to say they have bad opinions, that's just
Are you a person? Do you pay into taxes and stuff? All right, well then you get to vote.
Yeah,
That's
they can work.
It works.
After 12 years old, you can get a work permit. You can work.
I remember what I was going to say. The 14 to 18-year-olds who would be involved, if you let the bar up and let them vote, the ones who are voting are the ones who are...
Yes, they self-select.
Yeah, they're self-select. It's not the most apathetic and least informed people who are like, well, I'm going to spend Tuesday voting, I guess, because that's what I do as my 15-year-old self now, since I am completely uninvolved. No, it's the ones who want to be involved, the ones who are already like going, hey, we have to live in this environment after all you people are dead.
Destroy the please You're destroying the climate and causing the healthcare crisis and causing all these things. Guess what? Somebody's got to do something about this.
Instead of setting up all these obstacles and then once we hit 18 saying go at it, could we have a chance to maybe kind of clear some of them off ahead of time?
Right. And they think about just the way that they get to engage when there's a political campaign. They could like really feel like welcomed at the table. Like a 16-year-old can canvass the crap out of a neighborhood, right? Yeah. But a 16-year-old's not going to be motivated to do anything political if they can't vote. They're going to feel completely out of place, right?
Yeah. And you're also you're gonna have to start seeing politicians stop like demeaning kids and dismissing kids and talking down to kids because all of a sudden kids can now represent themselves with a vote. Right. You can't ignore them anymore.
Yeah, and if they voted as a block, who knows? They could have real power. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they really organized and said, hey, the youth vote, the youth caucus. I mean, literally, you think AOC is young? If the youth caucus could come in and support candidates across the country, who knows? I mean, obviously there's limitations in the Constitution. You have to be over 25 to be in Congress, but
the idea of if anyone's going to be able to harness the most cutting edge technology and abilities to garner social support and organize and work together as a group, well, it's probably going to be that group.
And what are a lot of campaigns hinging on right now? Memeing. which is a purely teen thing. It's a pure teen thing.
Dude, every senator and congressman wishes they had the memeing ability of a 14-year-old, of just the average 14-year-old. Please, they would kill for
die,
that. Yeah. Oh. But yeah, they could be memed out of existence if they make the wrong move or say something terrible.
Yeah. This could in some ways be part of a larger sort of youth enfranchisement movement. I mean, there's a question, I think a bigger question, which is, as society develops, because society's developing, right? The economy grows, a couple percent a year, and things are supposed to be getting sort of better and better each year in ways.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as society gets better and better, it becomes safer, it becomes more prosperous. Should the trend be that then it's always later and older in your life that you get these kind of powers and privileges and rights?
Right.
That doesn't make sense. If society's getting safer and more prosperous,
we should be letting the gates
getting easier and easier to get these privileges and rights.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it almost feels the opposite way. It feels like, now you can't even get a job until you have a master's degree. So like, maybe you shouldn't even be able to vote till you're 25. Like,
how about if you can only buy a house when you're 67? How's that sound?
Right, exactly. Like why are we pushing all these things later when really it should be we should be trying to progress, pushing it earlier and earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like earlier retirement with enough money to be comfortable. Earlier, finishing your education so that you can go into the workforce earlier. Yeah. I know a lot of people that would be really happy to not have to get 2 degrees or have their PhD take 6 years or have their master's degree take 3 years or have to go to, school and then another school and it's 8 years. And, people don't want to do that. They want to get into their life and be making money and enjoying themselves and starting families earlier. So why are we always pushing youths and extending adolescence longer and longer? It doesn't seem, what I think it is actually dangerously is, there's a dimension of American society, which is that we live in a gerontocracy, right?
Okay. What is a gerontocracy?
Yeah, gerontocracy. Gerontologist is a doctor who takes care of old people. Gerontos is a Greek word for old man, right? Gerontos. Geronta would be old woman, right?
Geronta would be old woman. That's what I'm always saying to myself.
Geronta
would be old woman.
Such an old man, Geronto.
That's
Gerontos.
Greek?
Yeah, Gerontos, I think is old man in Greek. But so anyways, we live in a gerontocracy, which means the power is with the old people. And it's because of medicine. Medicine has made it so that you can just be fit as a fiddle at 80 years old. I mean, if you take care of yourself and you kind of win a bit of a biological lottery and you don't smoke and stuff, you can be really pretty healthy at 80, which is why we have Biden's almost 80 and Trump is almost 80 and Bernie's almost 80 and Nancy Pelosi's 2,642 years old or something. I mean,
you can see it in real time. Anytime you watch a movie from the 80s or the 90s, someone who's 40 years old, you look at them and you go, and then you see a 40-year-old now and you're like, that's not the same thing. You know what I mean? That, it doesn't seem the same.
Yeah, no secondhand smoke.
Oh, right.
Veganism,
No smoke inside, all these things.
Yeah. So anyways, the point is we have this kind of gerontocracy. And I know people want to act like, no, these elder statesmen and stateswomen, they are, they're above all that. They don't actually care. But it's not about what they personally believe or not. It's just the way power works. Mm-hmm. If you have power, you keep amassing power. There's less power to go around.
Yeah.
And, it stays with you and you're older and everyone is older because they're your network of people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the power just continually drifts up into these upper age groups and young people are, young people are out of the loop. Yeah.
See, I feel like I haven't done a lot of pushback because I'm fully on board with this.
Yeah, and climate change. I think the Sunrise Movement should take this up as one of their major platform pieces. Because the Sunrise Movement's all of these these amazing young people who all can remember when they were. They might be 19 or 20 or 30 or 25 or something, but man, they can all remember when they were 16 and they were holy crap, the climate is going down in flames. Look at Greta Thunberg. She started her stuff when she was 14, I think. That's when she did her first.
That change we just talked about making people look younger by eliminating smoking inside. This is the environmental version of that where they're the kids at the bottom of the smoking filled room,
right?
Trying to talk to the adults going, hey,
guys stop smoking.
Could you please take that outside or stop or any such thing?
Good point.
Could I weigh in here, please, as a person?
Here's another dimension to this. God, this is such a manifold thing when democracy is so interesting, right?
Sure.
And people are so interesting. Society's so interesting. Okay. The American Revolution itself was conducted by like people in their early and middle 20s.
Okay.
Andrew Hamilton, when he wrote the Federalist Papers, was like 23 years old or something. Let me look it up.
But how does that, I mean, does that relate to everybody dying at like 35 back then? Or, I mean, of it just seeming like at that time where you're like, well, you're 11, you have to learn how to make candlesticks with this silver maker, and that's your job now.
I mean, I think there's reasons why it was young people, but the point is
Johnny Tremaine is
the point is they were young and they were able to do the most amazing, I mean, arguably the most amazing political thing ever done, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not disagreeing, but I think the point is not, yes, there are reasons why young men were doing this, is because like the old men were dead or you know, but the point is still interesting that they were all very, very young. Well, we can look up here ages of founding fathers. So
I'm going to guess 45 is an older age for them.
So the founding fathers were millennials. This is essentially what this article says. They were millennials, right?
That's what they called each other.
So most of the founding fathers were under 40 on 1776. James Monroe was 18. John Marshall was 20. Aaron Burr was 20. Alexander Hamilton was 21. James Madison, who is considered to be he wrote the American Constitution, was 25 years old in 1776, which he had another 10 years until the Congressional Congress happened. But it's like a boy band. Yeah, it was a boy band, basically. The founding fathers were a boy band. I think we can stand on this. This is a hill worth dying on. Come at us, bro.
This gives us credibility.
So yeah, when James Madison constructed the Constitution, he was 29. He was the youngest member of the Continental Congress.
Yeah, I believe in giving voice to youth. It seems smart. I like the expanding and opening of democracy. That seems more inclusive and just overall the direction you want to go in life, right?
I really think we're gonna eat it on the internet with this one though. So it's gonna be fun to see.
No, the internet.
Just tweet at us.
14 to 18-year-olds rule the internet. They're our friends. They'll be our friends on this.
Oh yeah, that's true. We need to get allies.
Backup. I feel like we're good.
Okay, let's get back.
But if we're not, you can tweet at AJ Braus.
Tweet at AJ Braus, BRAUS, AJ BRAUS. Please do. I invite the criticism. Hashtag youth liberation, or whatever. So youth suffrage sounds weird. Youth suffrage sounds weird.
But that's it. After we get the voting age changed, problems will be solved.
Yeah.
Done.
Oh my God. What a fun episode. Thanks so much, Scott, for playing along with me in the sandbox.
Thanks for blowing my mind, Adam, again. Good stuff. I like this one. I'm on board. No notes.
I need another limoncello LaCroix.
Well, let's go get one.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Hey there, thanks for listening to that episode of Solutions from the Multiverse.
Yeah, we're back with a little after roll. Hello.
Hey, after roll. Roll that after roll. So basically, we want you to subscribe.
Yeah.
And rate and review. And tell someone, like take your favorite solution and send it to someone who you think would like blow their mind to hear it.
Yeah, we love making the show. We're proud of it. And we're excited. We want other people to show. We know that the main way people find podcasts is word of mouth. I know that's true for me. I listen to my friends who also listen to podcasts tell me about ones, and I go, okay, I'm cluing into that. So we want to be part of that chain.
So thanks for being a part of Solutions.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again real soon.
Bye.
Bye.